Guys, Tyson here from Relax Running. Now, just a couple of days ago, I stumbled across some footage of creator of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, on a run about 7 years ago through the streets of Berlin. And I thought, well, one of the things that I like to do here is look at elite level athletes' running technique and break down what they're doing well or what, from my perspective, I think they can improve. Today, I thought could just be a fun one. Mark Zuckerberg's not known for his running ability necessarily, but I saw the footage and I saw a number of things that if I was working one-on-one with Mark, that I would help him eliminate or help him develop so that he could operate as a smoother runner when he's out there doing it. All right, so I don't know if you noticed anything in that running footage that we've seen, but there's a few things that I'm going to highlight in just a moment. Before we do, when we're talking about running technique, what are we trying to develop? What are we trying to create? Uh, You want to see a runner who's running efficiently. But what does that mean? Essentially, what it means is a runner who's using the least amount of energy to either run for a certain distance or a certain speed or a combination of both. Now, the reason this is important is because for many athletes, when they start to run fast, you'll start to see tension creep in. When they start to get fatigued in those longer distances, you'll start to see a couple of these little technical crutches sneak in. Often it's a comfort, often it's a fatigue factor. It could be a combination of both, but there's ways to eliminate that, which is going to help see the athlete in question, for lack of a better term, start to improve both the speed and distance that they're able to run before they get tired. Now, if you think of efficiency as an umbrella, beneath that umbrella, you want to look at tension, where it's stored. You want to look at body angle and how that makes an impact. And there's a number of other factors that we can look at with more specific regards to an individual, which we'll do in a minute. Now, immediately you can see that he's very upright here. I'm going to slow this down in the next frame because that's the first thing I notice. His arm swing is limited based on the fact that he's holding tension. This is a better example. So if you have a look at his arm swing, you can see that there's a lot of movement in his upper body, especially with his left arm here. Can you see that? It almost rolls through this stride here. Ideally, you want to see the arm moving almost on a pendulum without too much movement through the upper body. But with Mark, his whole left shoulder comes forward. And as a result, it's not just his arm moving, it's his whole upper body moving quite significantly. It doesn't look too bad in this footage, but as he starts to increase the pace or hit that level of fatigue that we spoke about just before, I think that's magnified. So let's have a look at that again. You can see that he holds tension in the way that I explained through the shoulder blades. He's very tense through the middle of his back, and I'll offer him some solutions on how to navigate his way through this. But because of that tension, we're seeing an over rotation through his upper body, which his lower body is naturally going to have to help balance out with each and every step. Ideally, you're going to see a slight amount of upper body rotation, very slight with a runner like Eliud Kipchoge, the world record holder for the marathon. With a guy like Mark Zuckerberg, it's very exaggerated. So, as I said, if we're looking at that umbrella of efficiency, you want to see that that tension is released through the shoulders, however you're holding it, because as a result of that tension being through the shoulders, we're seeing so much energy being wasted there. And then when you think about energy being wasted, but you also think about the efficiency of the movement, naturally, you want your arms to operate like a pendulum, your upper body to remain relatively still, because then your legs don't have to fight that upper body swaying and tossing and turning of energy. It can just float along. I'm going to skip ahead another moment because I think the last frame, it shows us his right-hand side. And I think one thing that we can see through his right-hand side, not just yet, he's about to come down past, I think he's in Berlin here running around. Now, I've got to cut him a little bit of slack as well because it looks like there's plenty of snow on the ground. I'm not sure how slippery this path is that he's running on. Let's have a look at this last clip before I break down what it is that I can see through his upper body. Pay attention to the angle that his whole body's on here. Remember I said that popsicle stick, you want to see slight momentum forward. Look at that. I mean, that's great technique for someone who wants to be at a stand-up desk or a sit-down desk all day. That's perfect. But when you're running, you want to develop that momentum. So let's just go back here a little bit. So we've got tension through the shoulder blades, which is seeing quite significant movement through his upper body. But let's have a look at his heel strike here, because you can see it is quite a significant heel strike. Remember what I said about an athlete who is quite high up? Look at that. You can see here, there's it's almost a backwards angle through his lower back. The other thing with this is you can see with the tension through the shoulder blades, the angle that his lower back's at. If you just do a little experience or a little experiment by yourself now, bring your shoulder blades back, squeeze them together, put a strong arch through your back, and try and take a deep breath. Now, when you try and tie those elements together, your breath is significantly impacted. But it's not only the physical aspect of you being fatigued due to a lack of oxygen because of the tension in your upper body. It's also the fact that he's putting on the brake pads through his lower leg. He's almost landing on a straight knee here. So when it comes to actually developing effective momentum, he's incredibly limited. What I would explain to him, if I was working with him one on one, I would help him become aware of the fact that he holds tension in a particular part of his body. I wouldn't just say it. I would hopefully go out and get him to just pay attention to where he thinks tension is stored. Now, maybe when he comes back, we could talk about that tension in the upper body. I would explain to him what I just explained to you. And not only limits your ability to flow smoothly in your upper body, it limits your ability to take in oxygen effectively just because of the tension through your chest, the limited capacity for your lungs to expand. And then I would also just get him to do a couple of practical exercises where he stands with his feet together and his whole body comes down to about this angle where the momentum starts to carry through, and then just starts going into a jog. The reason or the way that we would get him to relax through that tension that he's holding in his upper body is simply through a breath. Now, a lot of the time, the simple answers are the best answers. The most effective way that I've been able to navigate this, which is a really common experience with a lot of distance runners, the best way to navigate through this tension is firstly, become aware of it. Secondly, relax into it. So take a deep breath and feel the difference between the tension that you hold and the relaxation that you feel as a result. I'd also get him just practicing in a mirror what a natural arm swing without that upper body movement like this feels like. If he can develop a bit of an understanding of, okay, this is what a relaxed shoulder blade feels like, this is what a natural arm swing feels like, and then over time implements that with just building into a momentum through his stride and then becoming aware of it. I mean, there's no doubt he's an incredibly smart guy. So this awareness to the tension that he carries and the angle of the body that he's on is going to be the first step. And then just over time, gradually combining these two factors together. I mean, it's a very quick overview. It's a very broad overview. But as a foundation to where I think Zuckerberg could improve his running performance, this is where I'd start with him. Guys, if you're not a subscriber here, would love to have you around. Got new videos coming out every week, not only on running technique and running advice, but there's race reviews and also a number of just practical, helpful running tools that I can help you with. If you're interested in your own running technique review, personal running coaching, or just joining our training hub to get access to the best minds in the business, make sure you hit the link below. Also, would love you to jump on board, take a listen to the Relax Running podcast. We've almost, at the time I'm recording this, hit our 200 episode mark. Got a great audience from all around the world there, speaking to the best and brightest minds in the world of distance running. But for now, let's continue our conversation in the comments below.